Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer-Burnett.
Wow, I got beat up last night.
Jonathan Voico.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Chris Carr is here.
I got emotionally beat up last night, and it's all some person's fault.
I take full responsibility. But most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. And then in the second part of the show, well, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, here's the good news about the tip link. You can send in a question while we're live and we'll answer it in the second part of the show, but the tip link is also good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're listening to this show later on our podcast, either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys, we now live in a world where Daredevil Born Again is out. So, we're going to talk about it more a little bit later. I am personally very happy. But before we get into that, we do have some topics to discuss. We're going to start off with this. You know, one of the most interesting looking films coming out of CinemaCon last year, when they showed us a big presentation on it, was Bong Joon-ho's new film, Mickey 17, with Robert Pattinson.
Batman boy.
It looked great. We loved what they showed us. Now, it got delayed, and that's fine, but it's coming out now this week. And the reviews are now out, and there are two things that have become apparent. Number one, apparently the movie's pretty damn good. But number two, looks like it's going to struggle pretty much at the box office. As of right now, this recording, Mickey 17 has an 87% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is obviously one of the higher scores you can get. This is what some of the critics are saying. Seattle Times is saying, Bong blends humor and horror skillfully as Pattinson makes Mickey, dweeb though he is, a sympathetic sad sack. Miguel writes, Joon-ho's story combines satire, existentialism, and pure entertainment, achieving a film that is not only entertains, but leaves a mark. Mama's Geeky writes, a brilliant film, but it is scary how much it relates to the world that we are living in today. Several incredible acting performances take it to the next level. I'm even hearing some people saying that Robert Pattinson should be nominated for Best Actor twice for this movie, for playing the two characters. Screen Rant writes, Bong has crafted a large-scale genre film that, for all its oddness, goes down pretty easy, but Mickey 17 still manages to have a lot on its mind. Now, not everybody loved it. Let's look at some of the negative ones. RogerEbert.com wrote, what's frustrating is that I totally agree with everything Bong is saying. I just wish he were saying it with a touch more finesse. Okay. The Observer wrote, Mickey 17 is remarkably solid and compelling sci-fi flick with an absurdist flair that can only come from a filmmaker like Joon-ho. Well, let's look at a couple of the other. Obviously, there's a lot of positive ones, has an 87. The Daily Beast didn't like it. They wrote, no matter a committed performance, two actually, from Robert Pattinson, it's an original that plays like a rehash and an underwhelmingly unfunny one at that. Awards Radar, Awards Radar also wrote, Mickey 17 has enjoyable aspects, but is an undeniable disappointment from Bong Joon-ho. Yeah, I question using the term undeniable disappointment when 87% of the critics actually liked it, but whatever. So there's some of the pros and the cons. I mean, the guy who gave us Parasite. And what's the one with the monster coming out of the river? The Host, right?
And Memories of Murder.
So excited about this. Robert Pattinson being in it. A lot of things to be excited about. And apparently it's really good. But as a lot of us suspected, it looked like a really good movie, but it also looked like one that might struggle to get a bit of an audience. Variety is writing, movie theater owners certainly hope that's the case with Mickey 17 doing well. A dystopian sci-fi comedy lands in theaters after too many release date delays to count. The film is expected to earn just $18 to $20 million from over 3,700 North American theaters in its first weekend of release. Internationally, Mickey 17 is targeting $20 million to $25 million from 66 territories. for a global start of 40 to 45 million. Those projections aren't too shabby for the offbeat R-rated art house fever dream, except that Warner Brothers shelled out almost $120 million to make the post-apocalyptic story, so it'll require roughly $300 million in global ticket sales to get into the black during its theatrical run. In other words, Mickey 17 will need at least 17 lines on the big screen to justify its hefty price tag. All right. There's nothing more gratifying than seeing a good movie get rewarded, and there's few things more sad than seeing a really good movie underperform. I think just this past year of films like Furiosa, Fall Guy, Transformers 1, all really good movies that deserve to do well and just couldn't perform well. And it sounds like this might be on that as well. So Rob, let me ask you first, two questions here. Number one, where's your interest level been for Mickey 17? What do you think about the reviews we're hearing? And then thoughts, are you surprised to hear how low the opening projections are?
Well, first of all, Bong Joon-ho for the last 25 years has been one of the great filmmakers in the world today. Not only making Parasite, which was, I think, the first international movie to win Best Picture. Then, you know, you do have movies like Memories of Murder and The Host and things like that. And and also this is based on a novel, you know, a science fiction novel. And I can't wait to see this film, but I have to tell you, I think, and I just read an article, John, about, they call them Mike and Pam, Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, who run,
yeah,
and how they are making some big swings, getting people like Bong Joon-ho to come to Warner Brothers and make movies. And some of their big swings, like doing Joker, Folie à Deux, does not work. But they're trying to ally themselves with great filmmakers. The problem is,
especially after losing Christopher Nolan.
100%.
Yeah.
But the problem is, a movie like this requires a really aggressive and really well thought out marketing campaign. I think this movie has been horribly marketed.
I agree.
I think that when you have a movie like, and I'll tell you something, I don't think the people that are marketing movies, as somebody who's been collecting movie posters, you made a movie about movie trailers. I mean, we've sort of been unofficial students of movie marketing for years and years. And I think that we're seeing movie marketing is now being made by people that, one, aren't students of movie marketing. Mm-hmm. They're relying on analytics from outside. A great marketer is somebody who goes from their gut. You need Don fucking Draper to come in and market a movie like this. You need that Carousel, you know, the Mad Men. You need the I Want to Buy the World a Coke. And I'm watching this. You've got science fiction. You've got Twilight Boy and Batman Boy. You've got Bong Joon-ho, who won the Best Picture for Parasite. There's ways to market this movie. It has all the ingredients to excite even the most disaffected Gen Z viewer. And yet that's not being tapped into. And it's frustrating because I think you're right. There's nothing more depressing than watching a good movie underperform. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but I've been excited about this movie for a long time. And to hear these great notices, 87% for a non-IP literary adaptation, sci-fi adaptation. I want to see this thing triumph, because there's another movie that fits kind of along these same lines, based on Andy Weir's novel, Project Hail Mary, which is my #1 eagerly awaited film coming out. I don't know if it's this year, with Ryan Gosling in the lead role. And it is another great literary science fiction movie that is going to be a crowd pleaser like none other. And I think everyone saying that I've heard that's seen this movie loved it.
Chris, I mean,
that's my rant for this.
I agree with Rob that this has been a badly marketed movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Although,
has.
to be honest with you, I look at it, having not seen the film, I wonder, how do you market this better? I just know they haven't marketed it well, because it looks like some abstract indie film with it instead. But anyway, number one, what do you think about the responses we're hearing from it? Is this one you've been looking forward to, and why do you think it's expected to make so little on its opening weekend?
I have been looking forward to it. I actually went and purchased a copy of it from the Iliad down in North Hollywood.
I know it well.
I love the Iliad, so that I can read this after I see the movie. I usually like to read the book afterwards, so I don't have expectations going into it. I'm really pumped about this concept. I think it seems so fun and so interesting. And you could do so much fun marketing with it. Oh my gosh, Dad, if you're watching, I'm about to use my degree, finally. So you can be a disruptor with this film. You can talk about this job, and you can do so many social media posts doing HR outreach. Hey, do you want to see the galaxy? Do you want to do stuff? Almost like those Starship Trooper join up ads.
You've
right?
already better. You've already made better marketing for this movie than
Tell
they've
me,
done.
Mike, Pam, I love you. Come on. You can do stuff like that on socials. If you wanted to do stuff out in the wild, you have people in the jumpsuits doing bits and things, doing things that seemingly seem dangerous with,
Or
dry
hire
prop
twins
things.
to do stuff.
Exactly. You
know?
gotta cast, you can go to Central Casting and find a whole bunch of duplicates already, right? I've gone to auditions in public, in person. There's always 20 other Chris Cars. There are always 20 other big-eyed brunettes who it's, oh God, we all look like we have the same dad. It wouldn't be that difficult to do this kind of marketing. So you just have to get creative with it. And I feel like this was just lazy.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? The reviews are right where we were hoping they would be. It sounds like it's as good as it looks. But it's also sounding like they're not doing much to incentivize people to get up and go out to go see it. How do you think it's going to do? Have you been looking forward to Mickey 17? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Daredevil Born Again launched last night, and I'm going to let you guys know right now that we are going to talk about the episode in open spoilery detail. Just so you guys know. So if you don't want to know anything about last night's episodes, it's not like they debut at midnight anymore. They debuted in the evening. So we're going to assume most of you guys who are really excited about this show, you've already watched it. We're going to talk about it in spoilery detail. The spoilers warning has gone up. You can mute your computer now, and then you can unmute once you see the spoilers thing comes down. Understood? Great. All right. I loved it. I'm not going to lie to you. I loved it. My biggest fear, and I mentioned this on the post show last night, my biggest fear going into this Daredevil, hearing the showrunner talk, oh, we're going to have so much crash, boom, pow, action, 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 action. We're going to have the boring talking. And I'm like, dude, the talking is what made Daredevil great. Any good stunt coordinator can come in and put together a good looking action sequence, but do you tie it in with great narrative and story and characters and depth and all that kind of stuff? That's why I've been a little bit nervous. My fears have all been alleviated. I loved the first 2 episodes. Am I going to say it's as good as Penguin yet? We're 2 episodes in. Of course, I'm not going to say that yet. Am I going to say it's as good as the Netflix thing? We're 2 episodes in. Of course, I'm not going to say that yet. But I loved what I saw. Now, of course, I did predict that Foggy was going to die. A lot of you guys predicted that Foggy was going to die. But what I did not have on my bingo card was Foggy dying in the first 5 to 10 minutes. That was not on my card. I did not get that at all. And sure enough, hey, look, guys, I'm here. Bang. Oh, I'm gone. Now, that led me to believe that the big change in story was that, how they shot most of the show and originally Foggy and Karen weren't going to be in it at all? I think they scrapped most of what they did, but they probably kept the bones of the story and just slid in Foggy and Karen to show this is now the same Daredevil world. Because originally, and by the way, did you see the interview with Vincent D'Onofrio last night where he confirmed finally straight up, yes, the version of Daredevil we were making was not connected to the Netflix series. Now it is, which is what we've been telling you guys for years anyway. Yeah. But so they just kind of slipped them in and then boom, they're gone. And we'll talk about the Foggy thing a little bit later. I love the opening action sequence. I adored the final action sequence in the apartment between the cops and whatever. The scene between Matt and Kingpin talking in the diner exceeded my expectations. It was wonderful. All the tension, yet an understanding between the two that we are connected. And there's a familiarity between them as they're talking as well. Again, best line of the night. I mentored somebody. Didn't she shoot you in the face? Best line of the night. Loved it. It was great. That's the MCU influence here in it. I love the fact that, we were talking last night, Ann and I, about how you often hear about parents who lose a child, even if their marriage is great, when they lose a child, that's something they couldn't recover from. And you often see that they separate, right? And they have a bit of that with Matt and Karen. And like him saying, I just refuse to believe that this tragedy just will destroy everything. She's like, well, it did. And up and away she goes. I just loved everything about it. I can't personally think of anything that really stood out to me that left me feeling wanting. The one thing that felt a little bit weird was a result of something that I loved. I loved that this did not feel like this show felt more like Penguin than it did feel like Moon Knight. They went very grounded. It felt like an HBO show I was watching. It didn't feel like a Disney Plus. It felt like an HBO show. And then in the midst of all this groundedness and grittiness and street level stuff, Your Honor, my client did not have his magical amulet on him at the time. That all of a sudden kind of felt a little weird, but it made sense because that is they do live in the MCU after all. But for me personally, I absolutely adored it. I had a great time with it. I'm expecting more action coming because if the showrunner's talking about all the action and we got mostly drama in the first 2 episodes, which I am not complaining about at all, I loved it. Because again, that's what I was worried about. I was worried that we're going to have enough drama. I'm big on this. I'm fully on board. I cannot wait for next week. Anyway, Chris, you had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes of Daredevil. There was a lot of fears when they announced it. Disney's going to Disneyfy it, or I got really worried that it's just going for empty calorie fight scenes and no character drama. What were your final kind of thoughts on it after watching the first 2 episodes?
Oh, it's great so far. It's really well done. I'm not completely like, this is the greatest Marvel show I've ever seen. And I do feel like that did kind of mar how I was feeling about this. I tried to stay away from so many people's reviews because so many people were jumping online who saw the first 2 episodes. It's the greatest thing Marvel's ever done, hands down. This is the best show. And I was like, it's 2 episodes. Let's pump those brakes a little bit. But I really enjoyed what they did. I love that there is so much focus on the judicial system. I really enjoy that we're getting a courtroom drama out of this. I really like seeing that in action, doing things the quote unquote right way, as well as, you know, when things go tits up, he's got to step in and do what he's got to do. I love too that in episode 2 they paid tribute to Kamar, who passed away. The actor who played White Tiger.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died in December of 2023. He had been fighting cancer. And so he has wrapped all of his stuff. So his role is complete, I believe, in the show and everything. But he's phenomenal in this. I really am interested in that arc. I also took issue with that moment of, well, Your Honor, the amulet. I was like, one, are we just going to let everybody know this man's secret identity? That seems wrong, Matthew. That seems very hypocritical. And also, what judge? I was with the DA on that one of like, this is bullshit. What are we doing here? He's a vigilante.
From a legal point of view, that scene was incredibly accurate.
Oh, really?
A judge would not allow that unless during his time as a vigilante. Again, we're talking about comic book world, but legal world. But from a legal perspective, unless White Tiger, in his vigilantism, ever attacked a cop, it would not. You can't just pull random things from somebody's life if it's not directly connected. Because remember, the cops in this situation were not saying he was involving himself in a vigilante act, because they're saying, no, there was no guy there that we were beating up that he was sweeping in to save. They're saying he just approached us unprovoked and attacked us cops. If that's never been a part of anything in his history as White Tiger, a judge wouldn't admit that as evidence in court.
Sure, but I mean, I'd never see Olivia Benson finding a suit and being like, well, let's bring this to the DA. I just felt like it was a little odd. Or that was a moment of, as a comic book fan, I couldn't suspend my disbelief enough for he wasn't wearing his amulet. That whole thing just felt a little clunky. And then if I have to really nitpick, I really just didn't enjoy CGI Daredevil in the beginning, then cut to Matt doing like baby parkour. I would have rather seen him just climb up a ladder to get to the scaffolding. I would have rather seen him doing something in a practical way as opposed to doing the CGI. That's so nitpicky, but it's just one of those things of, if I'm gonna find a flaw, that would be the one of, I wish we spent a little more time or at least just did practical on that. Because the amazing thing about this show, and what was amazing about the original Daredevil, we were talking about this before we started filming today, is those incredible long fight scenes.
Yeah.
The stunt coordinators on the show are amazing. The folks doing the choreography are incredible. I would love to see more practical fights. So when they had that CGI moment, it did make me go, oh no, I hope that's not what this show is. And luckily it wasn't.
Rob, you had a chance to check it out. I know you've had some of the same worries I did, but you've also been excited for it at the same time. What was your kind of final overall impression when you walked away from it?
Well, here's the thing. What I really enjoyed about it and what I didn't expect, I love stories about characters that try and deny who they are. And through the course of the plot machinations, they realize it's inevitable. They can't walk away from who they are. And like you pointed out, the long conversation between Kingpin and Daredevil sets that up. Like Kingpin's like, no. I think I really honestly believe in that universe that Kingpin really does. He really
I
has.
completely agree. I don't think he was lying to Matt.
No,
I think he honestly thought, I'm going to go straight edge.
Yeah.
And
I think
can
he
do
did.
that.
I think he did. But then he has to deal with the fact that his wife has become him, and she's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
You know, she's running this business like without the kind of intimidation, but she's doing it like a CEO. She's
Women in men's fields. Let's go.
and then you have Daredevil over here dealing with White Tiger, and realizing that this guy's going to get railroaded, that the cops are bad, there's terrible stuff going on, and Kingpin. I did love the scene when he's in the back of the car, and he's like, they're driving somewhere. What is this? And he gets out. Well, sir, we have to wait for this permit. And he's like, give me a break, you know. And I wonder if that's going to play. I wonder if that hole's going to get filled and it's going to collapse later. And it's going to be one of the reasons they didn't have the permit. But I really liked how he walked out there and he's like, look, let's just fix this problem, which I really like, cut through the bureaucracy. And then he had to deal with it more like the chief of police. Like, these people are not going to let him. They're not going to allow Kingpin to be on the straight and narrow. They're going to block him because of who and what he is everywhere. And eventually he's just going to be like, well, I tried.
I thought there was a chance. I thought there was a chance that as the chief was just railing him, like, you're this and you're this, I kind of have, because you could see it crumbling away for Wilson at that point. You saw he's realizing,
This ain't
I can't, because remember that line he says to Matt in the thing goes, what is it? Hating the violent nature that controls us. You know, like, he's realizing he can't escape it. And then Matt has a similar character path that he comes to at the end and goes, I'm going to have to, no, I can't control it anymore.
That's what I really like is, and when you get to that primal scream at the end of episode 2, you know, that's what I really am appreciating, that they've got this storyline. I don't know how it's going to all play out. I don't know how long they're going to string it out before all hell breaks loose. But I really did like the setup of this corruption within the police department that's really corrupt, you know, and the whole White Tiger angle. And I was really surprised at how invested in the story I was right off the bat. I mean, I was talking to you about things that I wanted more of.
Right.
That's only because I wanted more development of the story that I'm enjoying so much.
Right.
You know, but other though, I really like what they're doing. And look, like you were saying, you can get to it sooner. Like, I would have taken a whole other episode of them developing this whole thing. I mean, like, but other than that, I really was surprised at where it's going. And I'll tell you something else. They did some really interesting things, like the reports from Ben Urich's daughter
or niece or whatever she was.
Whatever she is. And I really like the scene where, like, she went in and saw Kingpin, and I really like Tony Soprano's son, you know, James, young Mr. Gandolfini. I like that character and where that's going. It's
Yeah,
like,
Daniel's
look, I'm doing you a favor.
What
like,
was his line? Great hole filling, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it was. I like your enthusiasm, you know, whatever. And by the way, can we just talk about how Vincent D'Onofrio is the best Marvel villain?
oh,
He's so good.
He's so good. I mean, you're looking at him. Look, I really loved Brolin as Thanos, but he's a purple CG character.
How dare you?
You know, but nobody could have played Run From It. He was amazing, but he's still a purple CG alien. Whereas Vincent D'Onofrio, like, and how he kind of smiles, like he knows he's supposed to smile because he's on camera.
His laugh was so bone chilling.
Oh,
I'm used to that. Where I was like, nope, I don't want to see you have joy.
yeah, I mean, because I was afraid after, you know, his Echo interaction. Are they gonna? No. This is full
by the way,
on.
the Tracksuit Mafia has returned.
The Tracksuit Mafia. I love that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Boys are back.
and you know what? It's like that's the way to pull in threads, and when you can fix stuff and elevate it, all that stuff was awesome. And by the way, his wife, she's killing it too.
Speaking of which, can I ask you a question? Over under 10%. Over or under 10% that Adam is alive by the end of this season.
Ooh.
Because in episode 1 of Daredevil, I'm thinking, sure. By the end of episode 2, I'm like, nah.
If she says a second time in another episode, you can't kill him.
Don't kill him.
Then he's absolutely gonna die.
Oh yeah, I
Adam
just
will be
don't.
the
I
Chekhov's
cannot
gun.
foresee.
No.
Like no. By the way, that scene, I thought felt another HBO like moment, and I say that with the highest regard. When they're in couple counseling, And she's
with
just
Lorraine Bracco.
and she's just explain. Yeah, I'm like, it's very Sopranos.
But
in
I
here.
really like her.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
But like, I love the way it all made sense. Because you think like Vanessa and Kingpin, like they would never have a problem, right? She goes, he disappeared after I sat by his bed for months, and he just left. I didn't hear from him. He never communicated with me. I got lonely, and I got fulfilled in many ways. Ha ha ha. Running the business and all that kind of stuff. And that's left us where we are. It just added to that whole of making everything feel so real.
And what I loved about that is that's the kind of motivation that works in any story, not just a superhero story or supervillain story, because he really loves her. And he has to deal with this, look, because of the work they do, he has to put up with that. Like she had to do what she had to do, and he understands that she had to do what she had to do, but he hates the fact that she had to do what she had to do. And he probably blames himself and there's recrimination there. It's all in his performance.
Yeah.
I just cannot wait until it goes Unforgiven. Like, both of these guys are William Money. And at some point, Ned is going to be in front of Greeley's, and they're going to take that shot of whiskey, and all hell is going to break
I'm
loose.
very curious at some point there's going to have to be some kind of an uneasy alliance between Kingpin and Daredevil once Muse becomes an issue.
Well, I think that's going to be the issue is they're going to realize we have to team up. Like, they're going to be at each other's throats, and then they realize we're getting effed from all sides, and the only way we can take care of business is if the two of us band together. And I can't wait. I mean, I think this is going to be, I'm stoked, dude. If they pull this off, if it's all about the writing. It's all about the writing.
All right, guys, we could talk for hours about this, but the question is for you. If you saw the first couple of episodes of Daredevil, what did you think about them? I personally couldn't be happier, especially knowing all the worries I had going into it. I was very, very happy with it. How did you feel about it? Where do you think it's going to go from here? What stuff are you looking forward to? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about a couple of things, including the head of Disney Plus streaming saying Karen and Foggy will be in Daredevil season 2.
Woo!
What? Also, we're going to talk about the Russo brothers have kind of pitched out what they think are going to be the runtimes of upcoming Doomsday and Secret Wars, and they're not short. We're going to talk about that and a few things more, but before we do, we're going to take a quick moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at PrizePicks. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. All right, guys, if you're watching basketball this season and not playing PrizePicks, you are seriously missing out. This is hands down the most fun way to get in on the action. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats like points, rebounds, or assists for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. This week, I'm looking at the board and I'm going with Luka Doncic for more than 25 points and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds. That's my lineup. Simple, quick, and way more fun to watch the games. And on top of that, PrizePicks hooks you up with awesome promos like Taco Tuesday, where you get player projections at a discount for even bigger value. So download the app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Just play $5 and you get $50 automatically. PrizePicks. Run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You don't have to mute your computers for this, but this next story, which is out and public, this is a public story right now, does contain what I would consider to be a minor spoiler for Daredevil season 1 and 2, because it's something that happens in the first couple of minutes of the episode. Okay. And again, as I'm saying, this is now headlines. These are out public information. I'm not giving away anything that isn't public information right now. All right. So Foggy dies.
What the?
In the first 10 minutes of the show,
Just to upset me.
just to make Chris Carr mad. But for those of you who are feeling kind of mad about it, well, guess what? The head of Disney Plus streaming and Marvel streaming has now come out and said, according to this headline, that Foggy Nelson is confirmed to return for Daredevil Born Again season 2.
Somehow.
Somehow Foggy has returned. says this. Henson's Foggy and Deborah Ann Wolf's Karen Page were at the heart of the Netflix Daredevil series, so bringing them back as a part of the new MCU series creative overhaul was certainly the right choice. However, Daredevil Born Again Episode 1's ending saw Foggy die after being shot by Bullseye. Actually, that wasn't the ending. That was the very beginning of the show. While that event seemed to seal his fate, that might not be so certain now. Speaking to Phase Hero, Marvel Studios head of streaming, Brad Winderbaum, confirmed that Foggy Nelson and Karen Page will be back for Born Again Season 2. Dun, dun, dun.
And Star-Lord.
All right. And Star-Lord. And White Vision. And Blade will make his first appearance. So, okay. The thing about this confuses me here is that Foggy is not a Celestial that we know of. He's not an
He is
immortal
now.
or an Eternal. Maybe he was like one of the lost Eternals. I don't know. And not only did he die and then the show went on, he died and then it goes 1 year later. He's been gone. So this raises a couple of possibilities. Number one, do we find out in a flashback at the beginning of Born Again Season 2 that Foggy's body was taken away by the foot or the hand? Sorry.
I do it all the time too.
I keep confusing the Teenage Mutant Ninja
Yep.
Turtle ninjas,
It's too
the
easy.
foot, and the hand.
It just as long as there's ninjas.
Yeah.
Did the members of the hand take him away and go through some kind of same resurrection process that they did for Elektra previously, and that he's back? Or is it a more straightforward thing of, remember, there's a big gap of time between when we left off of Daredevil Season 3 and Daredevil Born Again Season 1. There's a big window of time. Years have passed. Is his presence in Daredevil Born Again Season 2 going to be flashback stuff? Much like an Unto Say if you're watching Dexter, flashbacks of conversations with Harry, or Paradise, flashbacks of before the catastrophe.
Yeah, James Marsden gets killed in the first episode, but he's in every episode.
But he's in every single episode,
They
and
better keep
apparently
that for
he's
season 2.
Yeah, they will.
apparently he's going to be in Season 2.
Yeah.
So anyway, so is it going to be all flashback based? Is he returning? Chris, I know you weren't very happy
No,
that they killed off Foggy.
but I get it. We touched on this yesterday, but that would be really, moving for Matt. What's it like? He's not tethered to somebody who really wants him to do things by the book.
Because
Chris.
if
Chris, it's me from the other side. Chris.
He's
I
Southern.
crossed over.
Once you
Yes,
die,
once you come here,
once you go to heaven, you get Southern.
you cross into
he
Dixie.
gets Southern.
I don't want to go, Chris.
What's west of the Mississippi? Heaven.
So
That's what it is.
here's the
serenity
question though.
and
Like
lie.
if we heard in the trailer, Kingpin asked Matt in the trailer, why did you stop being your darker side? And he said a line was crossed. We all then assumed that meant he probably killed somebody. We needed a narrative anchor that was believable to us about what would drive Matt at this point in his life to kill somebody. Killing Foggy would make him
Yeah.
want to kill somebody. Anyway, sorry, please continue.
So, you could do flashbacks. You could go Jessica Jones with what they did with Kilgrave and have this as a voice almost in Matt's head, his conscious manifesting as Foggy, something of that nature, doing confessionals maybe to Foggy instead of going to the church. That could be an option of talking things through with his friend. There is a comic book reason he could come back, though. So you probably know about this, Rob. Back in 2006, a Brubaker run had Foggy Nelson murdered. He was stabbed, and the FBI faked his death. Now, what makes that different here, though, is Matt heard Foggy's heartbeat stop.
Yes.
So that is a little bit of a stretch, but also we're in the MCU, right? We're in the Marvel Universe where no one's really dead. So he could come back through the chamber from Electro or some other kind of hoodoo or something of that nature. So we could have those kinds of things. Karen coming back obviously is much more plausible. I love in the
'cause she's
chat.
just in San Francisco.
Yeah, she's in San Francisco.
She's
She can
not
get
in
on a plane.
heaven.
Yeah, she's not in heaven. She,
She
didn't
hasn't crossed over
die.
Dixie
She's
yet.
representing the West
the other
Coast
side of-
Avengers.
I love in the chat someone put that they all just start saying quack, 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 and then he comes back to life. It's a Bash Brothers reference. Mighty Ducks, nobody.
Yes.
Bueller? Okay.
I
Thank
just
you,
think-
Jonathan.
Look, I think they're going to do something different. I think it's definitely going to be a flashback thing, but I think at the end, I would assume, since they know he's coming back already, that we're going to find out whatever the machinations of the plot are that something is going to be revealed that has its roots in the past that Foggy was deeply involved in. Like it's going to be almost like a cliffhanger. And then like with Paradise episodes, it'll start, the next season will start 5 years earlier or something. And you're going to see, like you said, in that 6.5 year interim period between the end of the next Netflix series and this, there's going to be a much larger story that's being told that Foggy, unbeknownst to anyone else, was probably involved with. And they're going to show that. They're going to show us what
So
happened.
kind of like, what was the name of the actor who played Cypher in The Matrix again?
Yeah, Joey Pants.
Right. So
Joe
like,
Pantoliano.
thank you. So so something like his role in the last Bad Boys, where he's dead, but then they find out I was actually involved in something much bigger, and there are recordings of him.
Right.
Or could they really Dexter it, where Dexter's just talking to Ghost Foggy? But to your point about the thing about how the catch is that Daredevil heard his heart stopping.
Yeah.
In The Dark Knight Returns, Superman also heard Bruce's heart stop beating,
True.
but then at the funeral, he heard it kick back on, right? So maybe they could be doing that storyline that you were
maybe
pointing
perhaps
out.
over his own wailing and then pushing Bullseye off the building. He didn't hear the heart
That was the
restart.
thing. Bullseye got him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's going to be because
It was
I
never
like
misses.
stories that go back into the past, and we're going to see. It's not going to be flashbacks, or it's going to be an actual story where you're going to see Foggy get embroiled, and it's going to be heartbreaking.
Well, okay, listen, I hate bringing this up, but it is the part of the fabric of the MCU. Somebody in the live chat, which I think was Tremble Dust, what if Foggy was a Skrull?
Yeah, a couple of people said that.
I don't think they're going to go back into that after the disaster of Secret Invasion.
Yeah, I don't.
But I mean, that does become one of the possible. What if that was Skrull Foggy that got shot? And
I just don't think they would do that because this is a
I
a
agree.
human level. They're going to keep this. They want to keep the pathos there.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
agree.
they would.
Yeah.
But I think finding out that Foggy is involved in and he had to do something sacrificial, make it a real noir story that was really hard on him that no one knew about, and he kept it a secret, which makes him more noble.
That's very true.
All right, guys, question is for you. Did you cry out in terror like the household of Chris Carr last night when Foggy bit it? Well, rejoice. It sounds like he's coming back, but how? We don't know. Is it a resurrection thing? Is it he was never dead thing? Is it a past flashback memory thing? Is it talking to Dexter's dad, Force Ghost kind of thing? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? So Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars are coming, and you guys will remember that Infinity War and Endgame were both very long movies. Endgame, of course, tipped the 3-hour mark. But it was the summation and the crescendo of nearly a decade of filmmaking and over 20 films and 50 movie stars and all that kind of stuff into one, and there was a lot to do. Well, even though neither film has even begun shooting yet, the Russo brothers have been asked about how long are these movies going to be. Now, first of all, it needs to be said, even the Russo brothers can't possibly know how long the movie's going
Yeah,
to
there's
be.
the edit process.
Yeah, number one, you got to shoot.
Yeah.
Then once you're shooting, you might change your mind. And then once you've got everything shot, then you go into the edit and you take out a half hour of this, 20 minutes. I mean, there's just no way they're going to know. But that didn't stop the Russo brothers from venturing a guess based on their basic plot outline of the thing. And an article in Screen Rant, it said the Doomsday Avengers Secret Wars talks runtime. This is what the Russo brothers said. Even if plot details have yet to be revealed, it's clear that Doomsday alone will be massive. Secret Wars then should have even more on its plate as a direct continuation of an adaptation of a bonkers crossover comic that unites heroes and villains, old and new, for an epic clash. Though they can't confirm exactly how long the two films would be once the rubber meets the road, because again, they haven't even started shooting the movie yet, the Russos are fairly certain that the runtimes will look very similar to Infinity War and Endgame given the similar pattern. They said, quote, "If I were a betting man, I would say the first one is 2.5 and the second one's 3 hours." So their guess right now, looking at what their outline is and their script is, they're guessing right now that Doomsday is going to be about 2.5 hours and that Secret Wars will probably chime in at 3, probably 3+. All right. again, let's reemphasize they haven't started shooting this movie yet. The first movie could end up being 98 minutes and the second one could end up being 5 hours. I mean, we just don't know. They just don't know. But they're saying, looking at what they have, they're guessing 2.5 and 3 hours. Okay, so let's, for the sake of discussion, assume that that's what it's going to be. I keep telling my fellow film fans this: a long runtime of a movie does not mean it's good. A short runtime of a movie does not mean that that's bad. There's a lot of times I come out of movies and go, you know, if they trimmed out about 20 minutes, oh, that movie would have hummed. And there's also times I've come out of 3-hour movies, and there've been a couple of times when I've thought, you know what, this needed another 10, 15, 20 minutes to flesh some things out. So the length of a movie is neither good nor bad. The one thing I got to say, Rob, that gives me a little bit of pause, although we know Joe and Anthony, right? Trust them completely, especially when they're working with Kevin Feige. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause is, unlike when they made Infinity War and Endgame, which was the culmination of 3 phases of very connected, very meticulously plotted out, step-by-step storytelling to bring this big crescendo, we're at a place in the MCU right now, while much healthier than it was like 2 years ago, we still don't know what's going on in the MCU. We have no idea.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah, I am not sure if they do either. And so I don't know that there's that narrative impetus, if you will, that we need a 3-hour thing to really bring together. Well, we haven't got anything yet. Still, look what the Russo brothers did with Civil War. Look what the Russo brothers did with Winter Soldier. Look what they did with Infinity War. And look what they did with Endgame. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt 8 days out of 7. So when you hear them guessing at a 2.5-hour runtime for Doomsday and a 3-hour plus runtime for Secret Wars, what's your response to that?
Well, first, I mean, Doomsday starts shooting very, very soon. And obviously the conventional wisdom for a film is it's a minute a page. So they probably have a script that's 140 pages, 150 pages
180
for Doomsday.
pages. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe 100.
Oh, you mean for Doomsday?
Yeah,
right,
for
right.
Doomsday. And look, if you have 135 or 140 page script that has a lot of action in it, action obviously lasts longer. So they can estimate what it's going to be. So I think that they probably, and they also know, look, there's a lot of story. If we're not getting Doctor Doom, if we're not getting Victor Von Doom introduced in Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts or any of these other movies, they have to establish this character. So part of Doomsday, I would imagine that the opening is going to be, well, who is Doctor Doom in this universe? Where does he come from? Does he come from a different place? And that's going to take up, I think, a lot of the beginning of this film. So you're going to have an opening that you've got to introduce a character that nobody knows. Whereas in Infinity War and Endgame, I mean, Infinity War opens with the Black Order and Thanos having killed all the Asgardians from the end of Ragnarok, and so immediately you're in, you know what's going on. But with Doomsday, since we don't even know what's going on in the regular MCU, now we're expected to buy into all this.
That'll be like Ultron.
They've got a lot. Well, yeah,
Ultron's
it could be. But the thing about Ultron is, well, yeah, you're right. That's not a bad example. I mean, I hope that. But this is, if you're going to go into God Emperor Doom,
Yeah, I know.
in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, this is basically the Doctor Doom saga,
Right.
and they got to do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I would say though, I'd want to remind everybody that, like, I don't think there'd be a lot of argument, maybe a little bit, if I said 2 of the, if not the 2 greatest movie villains of all time, Darth Vader and Hans Gruber. Both of them just came into a movie. Star Wars was 2 hours. Die Hard was 2 hours. They were able to, and these are considered now the greatest villains of all time. Just because we haven't met Doctor Doom yet, I don't think that necessarily means that you need to have an extra hour to really get, especially since you're going to have one full movie to introduce them before we get to Secret Wars. I think it's more about maybe, you know what I said earlier, that I'm a little bit worried about the fact that the whole MCU felt so disjointed.
Yeah.
Maybe more runtime is needed to create that feeling of unity, to create that feeling of a storyline.
I agree, because remember, we had, it was interesting going into Infinity War, the Avengers were broken apart.
Yep.
No one knew where Steve Rogers, they haven't talked to any of these people. And so that was built up beginning all the way back to Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron. So you had this ongoing storyline that people were already invested and interested in. And going into this, it's like, who knows what that is?
Yeah.
So look, I got to tell you, I'm excited. I'm like, I'm waiting for that Secret Wars omnibus to show up. I can't wait to. I read the individual issues when they came out, but I'm hyped.
Yeah.
Especially if that leaked. I don't care if that leaked art's real or not. I'm like, that could be real, and the potential of God Emperor Doom sitting on that throne. I'm like, I want that hot toy. Yes, I do.
If it's not real, are you going to be disappointed though when you see the film? Is that going to like? Sway how
Well,
you're
not if it's
feeling?
good. I mean, because I think Infinity War and Endgame are two of not just. I think they're two of the greatest fantasy movies ever made. Those two are god level superhero movies for what they do, just because of how they make those. That whole opening scene with the Thanos on the Asgardian ship and this thing in New York when they bring everybody together is the perfect distillation of why the MCU works so well. You can have real peril and then real entertainment with Ebony Maw and they want this thing from a wizard. It's so good. It's so good. Those movies are so good. And why the Marvel universe has fallen so far, I don't understand.
By the way, I don't think it's fallen that far, but
It's
I mean,
off track.
it is taking a step back,
Yeah.
but it seems to be getting back on the right track. Now, I will still always say in Infinity War, I still think the best character introduction in a movie ever was the fight down in the subway. You've got Scarlet Witch and Vision fighting. It wasn't Ebony Maw. It was I forget their names now. The two Black Order members. But
Yeah.
fighting them, the spear gets thrown. Captain America catches it and steps out of the shadows with the beard. To me, that even tops Thor arriving in Wakanda.
Yeah.
He said, "Bring me Thanos," which is great too. But I love that Captain America.
What was crazy is everyone in my theater was pregnant after that.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
and like in their second trimester.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was crazy.
Everyone.
Chris, what do you think about this estimated runtime about these movies? What does it tell you, if anything? Is this what you thought? Surprised? What do you think?
I mean, it's pretty much on par with where I thought this was going to be. Like Rob was saying too, that's that 1 minute rule-ish guideline.
Yeah,
If you want, it's
ish.
pirate code, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a guideline. But all of the fight scenes and everything obviously are going to take up more time too.
Yeah.
So that runtime makes sense. And you do have not necessarily a lot of character introduction that you have to dive deep into, but you do have a lot of world building that you have to have us all on board with. We need to have our, suspense, our disbelief suspended that we are in this other world, that these are the parameters, that everyone's on board with what's happening here or not,
Plus, there is a question that I think needs to be answered in Doomsday at some point, and that is which Ben and Jerry's flavor are Wong and Doctor Strange eating today?
Oh, I'd love
If
that.
they don't pay that off, there's not a new flavor.
I really thought you were going to say there is one question that needs to be answered. What about all the supernatural beings?
Oh,
they get
Foggy's
where's
gonna
that
be
going?
there.
Foggy.
I've crossed over to Secret Wars.
I'm over at Battle World. Hey, y'all. I don't know why he became that guy from Family Guy. Oh, no. The Oreos. Oh, no.
Speaking of the supernatural, can I just point out,
God.
apropos of nothing, my
Sure.
favorite book series, Jonathan Mayberry's Joe Ledger series, released a new book this week.
That's great.
Just saying, it has vampires in it.
Oh,
That's what I was
okay.
thinking. I'm like, where are the vampires? Where are vampires? If Blade exists in this world, where's the
What's going on?
supernatural?
Are they going into the
They're
secret
living
world?
in the shadows still.
Where's Vampire World?
Where's Vampire
Here.
World? All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Estimated run times for movies. Remember, guys, don't hold any of this to anything. They haven't even started shooting. The first movie could end up being 1 hour and 58 minutes. The second one could end up being 2 hours and 5 minutes or significantly longer. They can't really tell right now until they get in, start editing. Kevin Feige comes up with new ideas to add or take away. I mean, who knows? But they're estimating 2.5 hours for one, 3 hours, maybe plus for the second one. Do you think that's right around where it should be? Do you think it should be shorter, longer, whatever? Are you surprised? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. You know, grocery shopping used to be one of the biggest struggles. Between your busy schedule and wanting to eat healthier, it just feels impossible to stay on top of everything. But all that changes when you discover Hungryroot, the easiest way to eat healthy without the hassles. Hungryroot is like having your own personal grocery shopper. They take care of the weekly shopping for you, recommending healthy, high-quality groceries tailored to your tastes, nutritional preferences, and even health goals. They've got it all: smoothies, snacks for the kids, ready-to-eat meals, and even supplements. For me, Hungryroot is absolutely a game changer, guys. My health goals have become so much easier to stick to. I love how they personalize my cart every week and even get smart about my preferences as I go. It's honestly stress-free and so simple. You're going to love Hungryroot as much as I do. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, using the code Campea to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
K Major says, John, I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan on the edge, figuratively. Is there any hope or future from the season of this, or is it officially dead?
Oh, your season's dead. Your season's dead.
This place is dead anyway.
I mean, with Kyrie going
Swingers.
down for the season, AD's still out. You got like 3 other big guys out. The season's dead, but the future is not dead. I don't think the Dallas Mavericks are a title contender next year, but they have the potential to be very, very good with a healthy AD. When has he ever stayed healthy? But if he does, and a healthy Kyrie, you guys can have a very good season next year. But yeah, this year's dead.
And plus, some guy could probably step up with more playing time. Sometimes you have these hidden gems on the bench that you never know could step up. I mean, the younger guys, if they get more play time without Kyrie, the ball handler, he's maybe they could find someone.
I don't know. I think you can do that if your main stars are there to be with them.
Right.
Like if your number 3 guy goes down and gives a kid playing, but when your top 2 guys are out and your franchise player has been traded, I don't care who you bring off the bench, your season's over. That doesn't mean you can't win some games, but their season's over. But maybe they'll find a diamond in the rough to play with AD and Kyrie next year. All right, what's next?
Boris the Blade says, hi, John and crew. First time tipper here. How come no one's talked about Pixar's Win or Lose? First few episodes are on Disney Plus, and they're amazing. Pixar at their best. So fun and so emotional. A lot of intrigue. I highly recommend you check it out. I mean, I did. I just felt like...
I have not heard great things about it.
To me, man, I just kind of felt like it was going nowhere.
Are all
Like
the
it was
episodes-
cute, and it's good. It's not bad, but it's just kind of boring.
Are all of them up?
No.
Because that's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for the whole
not
bunch
yet.
just to finish.
No.
And then I'll binge the whole thing. Because you said the episodes aren't that long, right? 30
No,
minutes?
yeah, they're short.
And
Yeah, to be honest with you, I remember somebody told me that, I was watching it and they didn't particularly love it. They didn't think it was bad, but they didn't think it was all that good. And I'm like, wait a minute, it came out? I didn't even, it had come out like 2 weeks earlier. And I'm like, I didn't even know it came out yet. So
Yeah, I just kept, every time I watched the episode would end, I'm like, well, I'll watch the next one just to finish what's out so far. But I'm like, nothing was like, let me get to the next episode. It was just like, all right.
yeah, so I haven't watched it myself.
it's from Pixar, though.
Yeah, but it's from Pixar. By the way, like we didn't talk about it. Maybe we will tomorrow. Disney Plus has decided to kill long form animation from now on. They're not going to do any more animated series.
Animated series?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do any more animated series.
It might not be getting the traction that they want.
Yeah, I think they've canceled a couple of the animated shows. That doesn't mean the MCU won't.
Oh, okay. So,
but
okay.
yeah, it
That's what
sounds like they're ditching on that stuff.
All
All right, what's next?
LJ says, hey, John, you talked about Ray Fiennes being the best actor to never win an Oscar. Who's the best actor to have never been nominated for an Oscar? Kevin Bacon is one I was shocked to find out has never been nominated. That is a little shocking.
I love Kevin Bacon. Yeah. I can't think of anything that he could have seriously been nominated for an Academy Award, though. I mean, there's that one he was in with Sean Penn.
Mystic
River.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. He was really good in that, but I don't think Oscar nomination worthy in that.
Even like A Few Good Men, it's like he was more of the side character.
Yeah, I mean, again, he was good. I love Kevin Bacon, but that's not an Oscar-nominated performance. Yeah, I can't think. I mean, I love Tremors, obviously, with him and Remo Williams, but again, not an Oscar-worthy performance. And again, I say this with great reverence. I love Kevin Bacon, but I would not say he's the greatest actor to not be nominated. But I can't say who is off the top of my head because I'd
Yeah.
have to sit down with a big spreadsheet and figure out who
Yeah.
has been nominated, who has been nominated. So I don't really know off the top of my head. But I can't think the answer would be Kevin Bacon. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Anonymous says 2024 overview. Favorite movie was Dune Part 2. Least favorite was Craven. Biggest hot take, I actually thought Joker 2 was okay. Underappreciated movie was Ghostlight. Man, that movie came out and it was gone. Biggest surprise, the first Omen movie I wish I saw in theaters would be A Real Pain. I was okay with streaming A Real Pain, but
The Omen thing was the one that got a lot of people's attention.
yeah.
Like that I think that one surprised a lot of people. And obviously to me, Dune Part 2 was clearly the best film of the year. It's the best film there's been in Hollywood in the last 10 years. It completely should have won Best Picture. We'll see what happens once Denis gets around to doing Dune 3, aka Dune Messiah. I don't think they're going to call it Dune Messiah. And hopefully Denis takes a lot of liberties with it and changes a lot of it because it's not that good of a book. But we'll see where that goes. All right, what's next?
Wakanda sometimes says, I was at home one
Not Wakanda forever.
Just
Wakanda sometimes.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was at home one night and suddenly out of nowhere remember the movie Death Smoochie. I immediately watched it and felt such joy from the start comedy with an unhinged Robin Williams. I almost fell out of my chair at the It's a Rocket Ship scene.
Okay, you got to understand, I was late. I never saw Death to Smoochie in theaters. I just always heard how awful it was.
That's weird because I
Back
love
when
that
it
movie.
came out, all anybody talked about was how bad that movie was.
I don't know who you were hanging out with.
Oh, dude, it was all over the place. Like the reviews weren't good, all that kind of stuff. Robin Williams, Incredible Hulk boy.
No,
No.
Norton.
Ed Norton. And then a bunch of buddies of mine and I one night we were playing video games, eating pizza, and said, like Drew's running out, stop by the Blockbuster and pick up a movie. And he came back with Death to Smoochie. And so a few of us are like, do we even want to bother watching it? Yeah, whatever, put it on. I laughed my ass off that entire movie. I'm not just going to say Death to Smoochie is underappreciated. I think Death to Smoochie is brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. I loved it.
They're the most ruthless of all the charities. Like that movie rules. Jon Stewart's in that
Yep.
too.
Mhm.
That movie absolutely rules. And I do not know why it got such bad buzz and all that kind of stuff. Guys, if you have never seen Robin Williams, I just forgot his name again.
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Death to Smoochie.
The Norts.
You have to watch it. It's so good.
Watching
It's so
antivirus.
good. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Caesar's Claw says, what do you think happened to Andy Serkis' character in Andor? Can we see him again in season 2?
It's possible. We don't actually see him die.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't see but they implied he died, and Andor is not a comic book like show. It was set up for us to feel the tragedy of it. So I'm guessing he's dead. But again, the movie rule is if you don't see a character die, they might still be alive. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
Mark with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey guys, just saw the 3-minute behind the scenes for Andor season 2 on Disney Plus 4 times. So emotional. You'll love it. Amazing how they kept those grand sets under wraps. Still prefer Rogue One's behind the scenes, but this hits harder knowing where it's headed. Use CC to identify all voices.
I have not seen this. I did not know it was out there. When does Andor start? May?
April.
April. Starts in April. That's
April
right. Because we're going to have
22nd.
Daredevil and Andor and Last of Us all playing at the same time for a week or two.
Yeah. It's like a
Which
little
is
bit
crazy.
of
So that's coming up. So I haven't watched this behind the scenes thing yet. I will definitely go check it out. Again, to me, the series Andor, and I'll debate this with anybody, I think is the absolute best piece of Star Wars content since Return of the Jedi. I mean, obviously there's the original trilogy. Nothing will ever touch it. But after that, Andor season 1 is the single best thing Star Wars has ever made. I just cannot wait for season 2. All right, what's next?
Petey Pete says, watch Born Again. It was really good. For people who haven't watched the previous seasons, you're missing out. Punisher rooftop scene in season 2, Matthew's mother reveal in season 3 are really powerful. And I hear she's coming back in Born Again.
I mean, yeah, again, I still got the feeling after watching it that you don't need to watch the original series in order to watch Born Again,
Right.
but there's a lot more you'll be able to appreciate
doesn't
if you
hurt.
do. Listen, Born Again is just a couple of episodes a season, 3 seasons. You can get caught up on it before the next episode of Born Again comes out. You really can. It's not hard. It's, I mean, you got to have a few free evenings, sure, but you can get through them. And I think it's very worth it to go back and watch Daredevil seasons 1, 2, and 3 if you have not had a chance to do that yet. All right, what's next?
Okay, kind of along the same lines. Mark says in a 2-parter, I just binged all 3 seasons of Daredevil for the first time as Born Again began. Does 10 days for 39 episodes still count as binging? I would say so. It's almost 4 episodes a day. Season 3 cliffhanger was decent, but very curious as to what and how it unfolds next. As fans, what was it like when news broke that it was? Was it clear right away there'd be no season 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
They announced that was done. Yeah.
Was it a big deal? More of an oh well thing? To me, it was an oh well thing. Take us back, John, almost a decade. LOL. And thank you, John V, for reading. And you do so well. Thank you.
Yeah, like back then it had been announced that Netflix was going to stop making the series. So I didn't feel like season 3 ended on a cliffhanger at all, actually. I mean, it ended with a classic ending. The 3 friends sitting in a diner, reminiscing of a job well done. Well, now Kingpin's in jail. They had a few other like hanging threads, but I think we all knew by that time that we weren't getting a season 4. So there was that. I just really, really like, you can definitely tell different people are running the show now. I need to see more episodes to determine whether I think that's for the better or for the worse. Cause so far I think it's great. I loved episodes 1 and 2. Love them. Cannot wait to see where they go. And then we'll see ultimately once the season's done, we'll see how it compares up to the Netflix stuff. All right. What's next?
Willoughby Sting says, driving to work, I saw something unbelievable. An advert for a Netflix series. Some semblance of marketing from Netflix. A series called Toxic Town, billed as a quote-unquote real-life Aaron Brockovich, as opposed to the fake one Julia Roberts won an Oscar for.
You know what? Jonathan was telling me about this. That has got to be, I have to assume it's purposefully stupid. It's like Aaron Brockovich was a real story. It was a real thing. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume it was purposefully being silly. Now, I don't know anything about this series. Do you know anything about it?
No,
What's it called? Toxic Town? Or?
Toxic Town.
Yeah, I know nothing about it. But I mean, I got to assume that was a deliberate thing. If it wasn't a deliberate thing, someone got to get fired for that, because that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, on the subject of baffling marketing, do you remember an obviously bad, blatantly misleading, or just inept marketing for a movie? Well, inept is easier than blatantly.
Yeah, the bad marketing is different from purposely misleading marketing, right?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, movies, like some of the worst marketed movies of all time. John Carter is probably the worst marketing campaign for a film ever.
Mm-hmm.
That Tom Cruise movie.
Die Another or Live.
No.
Live, Die, Repeat. Yeah.
Live, Die, Repeat.
Edge of Tomorrow.
This is not the end.
Yeah.
It was the worst. Like, when I watched the movie, I couldn't believe it was good.
Yeah.
Because the trailers made it, this is not what the movie of this trailer. But that's different from misleading marketing. The worst example of misleading marketing ever is for a Disney film called Bridge to Terabithia.
Yeah.
A movie that is actually quite good. It's a moving movie. I really like Bridge to Terabithia. But here's the problem. Bridge to Terabithia is a tragedy. And it's about this kid struggling to fit in, finds a kindred spirit in a kid, and then dealing with the death of his child friend.
Right. No, it's an animated world of fantasy.
But the marketing campaign for Bridge to Terabithia If you go watch the trailers for Bridge of Terabithia, you think it's like Harry Potter. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's this wonderful fantasy. You think this movie, if you watch the marketing to Bridge of Terabithia, you think the movie is about these two kids who discover this fantasy world. It's a secret fantasy kingdom in this forest. And this movie's going to be about their adventures and stuff like that. No, it's about a kid whose life is so bad, he makes up an imaginary place, and him and his friend just go out in the woods, and then one day his friend goes in the woods without him and gets killed because they slipped on a log or something. I can't remember. And
like
then this
breaks their
kid
neck or
dealing with
something.
breaks her neck, and now this kid is left dealing with the tragedy of it. I remember there were parents. I hadn't started doing AMC yet. I was still doing the movie blog. But there were parents who were pissed.
Yeah.
Because they were like, you made this look like it was going to be this fun fantasy adventure I can bring my kid to. And instead, on the drive home, I'm having to talk to my 6-year-old about death.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pissed. It is the worst example of misleading marketing.
2 words. Got him.
Got him.
That's what the theater owner should have said after they complained. Got him.
Oh, man.
man.
To this day, I've never seen anything quite as bad as that. It was really, really bad.
Drive was up there too.
It's like trying to advertise Schindler's List about this wonky comedy about German neighbors.
Oh, you're right. Drive was like that. You remember Drive?
Yeah.
Drive? What about, Jonathan was saying the marketing was like that too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. A lot of people thought it was being marketed like a Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, that's what
I thought it was going to be this big high octane action film. That one was bad. I still say Bridge of Terabithia was way worse.
Way worse. Egregious.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. Ryan Jacob. I wrote in yesterday about Novocaine. AMC Screen Unseen is their secret showing. The 3 I've seen were good. Purple Rain and Dolby because they did that re-release.
Yeah.
Mickey 17 this week as well. Crazy. When A-List changes, they will also have a $15 a month one movie a week in AMC Classic theaters only. I wish it was still Dolby and IMAX. It's only one movie a week for that price.
Yeah, still.
Or at least allow an upgrade to it.
But still, one movie a week for $15 means
really
you're getting 4 movies for $15.
Yeah.
That's still a good deal.
That's good.
I mean, personally, I'll pay the $29 a month to get 16 movies a month.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad idea to offer it because, listen, even though it's not that much of a deal, $15, which is the cost of one movie ticket, and you get 4 movies a month for the cost of one ticket.
And if it's a simple,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
If they do an upcharge option at least for the premium screens, but if it's like a yes or no, then that sucks. At least do an upcharge.
All right, what's next?
Kylo Ken, do you think there's any chance Night Nurse Rosario Dawson shows up in Born Again? Or might her being associated with Star Wars preclude that? I don't think so. I don't think one would matter to the other.
What does one have to do with the other? That has nothing to do with it. Someone being in Star Wars, that means they can't be in... I mean, we got Pedro Pascal is the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And he's now Mr. Fantastic. Like, one has nothing to do with the other.
And he's going to be in the movie.
So it has nothing to do with that. But no, I am not expecting to see Rosario Dawson. Just because I don't think they need her. Right. I love Rosario Dawson, and I loved her in the Netflix stuff. I did, but I don't feel like that's a character they need right now. And so I don't think you just bring her in for the sake of bringing her. But then you never know. She might show up.
Yeah.
But my guess is that she doesn't. But it's just a guess. You need her.
She was working in the morgue for that fateful night when we lost Foggy.
When we lost Foggy, she actually saved Foggy.
That's where Foggy's at right now. Terabithia.
All right, what's next?
That's right. You'll find him.
You find him at
That's right, his hometown.
That little girl with me in the afterlife now.
All right.
Joel says, "Hey, John, theory. In Thunderbolts, a nerfed sentry will probably be as powerful or more than Thor and Cap Marvel. Or I think they meant Captain Marvel. Therefore, the team can't really win. What if they lose and only survive the movie and it ends with Void taking the city? Now Thunderbolts is the last movie on Earth 616 before Doomsday, assuming F4 doesn't end on 616. With Void taking the city, the opening of Doomsday, you can have Doom come into 616, confront Sentry, take him out, establishing him as a big threat. I think that's a good way of showing this guy's no joke. He took out Sentry, now what? Then he makes Sentry a prisoner, And he's actually the guy we see in those leaked photos with the chains in that white room. Take out the guy who could give you a headache, yes or no?
Well, here's the thing. I think Marvel knows that Thunderbolts is not going to be $1 billion film, right? They know that. This is going to be more of a niche film for them, like a 5, 6, maybe if things go really great, the $700 million film, but probably closer to 5 or 6, even if it's really good. Hopefully better, but we'll see. But Marvel knows this is not going to be one of their bigger films. I don't think you then de facto make this film the setup for Doomsday. Right?
Right.
Now, having Sentry in this and then using him maybe in Doomsday, because we've all been talking about Doctor Doom is going to need that Thanos Hulk moment. Because, yeah, we all knew Thanos, in theory, was a big bad. But it wasn't until the beginning of Infinity War when Hulk shows up and Thanos, granted, he had the Infinity Gauntlet and 1 or 2 stones in it, but he beats Hulk's ass. That was the moment that 95% of moviegoers who don't read the comics went, this guy's a problem. Because that never had happened to Hulk in the movies. Hulk was the nuclear option. When Hulk shows up, your best bet is just get out of the way. And so he shows up and they immediately establish the problem of Thanos by Thanos beating up Hulk. Now, we have been speculating over the past number of months, what will be that moment for Doom? Because again, 95% of the movie-going audience, other than maybe hearing the name Doctor Doom, is not really going to be familiar with who he is or what he can do or anything like that. You're going to need that moment that he's a problem. Maybe emotionally by killing... I think it would be a good move narratively to have them kill Tony's daughter. I know everybody bristles at that, but narratively it would be powerful. Or people saying just have him fight Hulk. You already did that, but maybe he fights and takes out somebody significant. Sentry wouldn't be a bad, because again, Sentry is a problem.
Yeah, right.
But Doctor Doom can't beat Sentry. but maybe again they're going to have to nerf down Sentry a bit. That would certainly establish the problem that Doctor Doom is. They definitely would. I don't think they'll actually do all that in Thunderbolts, nor will Thunderbolts, I believe, be a setup for Doomsday. Because remember, they were already in production on this long before they decided, the Russo brothers were coming and all that stuff. But to use Sentry as that tool to establish that Doom is a problem, they could do that. All right, what's next?
Mr. Snivy says, let's assume the Secret Wars will have a portal scene similar to Endgame. Do you think it's possible to see animated Marvel characters appearing in Secret Wars? Nah. Moon Girl, X-Men 97 or more, but maybe Spider-Verse, Big Hero 6, no way.
No.
We saw Real World in Beyond the Spider-Verse, but that's different. That hits different.
And who was it? It was in Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness that they entered an animation world for a minute and stuff like that. Yeah. No, they won't do that.
But they were like blobs of paint. It was weird.
That's just going to strike everybody as being far too silly. So, no, I don't see them doing that at all. Again, never say never when it comes to the imaginations of Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers. But,
Right.
I mean, I really can't see them doing that.
Unless-
I think it would be a very bad idea.
Yeah, unless those things were converted to live action versions of themselves.
Even then,
But
what
even
would
then,
be the
it's like,
point?
yeah.
Like, and 90% of the people who don't watch the cartoons are going to be, who's that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, anyway. All right, what's next?
Corel says, divided DC fandom doesn't realize that James Gunn and Zack Snyder are already collaborating. The movie Superman. In fact, Snyder's VFX guys have been involved on the movie. Their pick together is likely from already working together. Will fans ever unite?
Well, first of all, they're not Snyder's effects guys.
Right. They're effects
They're guys who have been effects people before they were working with Zack Snyder. It's hard when you work in this business. You're going to have people, remember, hundreds, thousands of people sometimes works on a movie. You're going to have people that also worked on other movies. So no, Zack Snyder and James Gunn are not collaborating on Superman. No, definitely. Hey, James Gunn gave Snyder a call even just to consult a little bit about what should we do with the costume. Like, we're thinking about putting the underwear on the outside. This is true, by the way. But it falls far short of the standards of what you would call collaboration. The spirit of what you're saying, I completely agree with. But yeah, not to the point that we mislead people by saying Zack Snyder collaborated with James Gunn in the new Superman movie.
Right.
I wouldn't go far as to say that. All right, what's next?
Curious Chris says, Daredevil was very good, but for my taste, the pacing felt too fast, and the music score was intrusive and unnecessary in some scenes. I personally prefer the slow burn and grime of the original. Probably my least favorite premiere episodes of the 4 seasons.
I've got to disagree with you on that, partly for this. We're 2 episodes in. We haven't even really met the villain yet. I don't know how fast you think you're going when we haven't, like, the villain of the season is going to be Muse. And other than maybe seeing them on screen for a second, they haven't really introduced the character at all. Right? It took an hour and 45 minutes just to say, here we are. It's been a couple of years. Fogg died. I became mayor. So again, it struck you as being too quick. I respect that because, art hits us all in different ways. That's how it hit you. I just got to say it hit me very, very differently. I feel very much like they are very much taking their time. It's only an 9 episode season. We haven't even met Muse. They just barely established that Kingpin's now mayor and Matt is mad. And that's really the takeaway. I've actually talked to 1 or 2 people who thought that the episodes were too slow. I didn't think it was too slow. I thought it was great. I thought the pacing was great, but it's just interesting and neat that that's how art hits us differently. Because I got friends who thought it was too slow and you thought it was racing along too fast.
I will say that the theme, I was a little disappointed. I don't, was it close? Were they trying to do something close to the Netflix
It was something
theme?
similar. It was a little similar.
Okay.
All right. What's next?
Rob, Mad Dolphin fan says Rob's point on movie marketing is so spot on. There's zero creativity in today's Hollywood in promoting films. It's just, hey, let's put out a trailer and cross our fingers. Sometimes.
Okay, but you can say that. Ultimately, what determines if a marketing campaign was a good one or not is whether or not it got people out to the theaters. And there are a number of movies that have done a very good job of getting people out to the theaters. You can do something really creative with marketing, but if it's not the kind of creativity that motivates people to want to buy a movie ticket, then it's not good to do it. I hate saying, because I hate the word formula, but if you have a formula that works, that is something that catches people's attention and gets them interested in going to see the movie, that's what you do. Ultimately, that's what the job of movie marketing is. The job of movie marketing is not to be creative. The job of movie marketing is to motivate people to take action, to go from learning about a film to buying a ticket to the film. And sometimes doing something really wild and creative doesn't accomplish that. Sometimes it does. It's the ultimate thing about having to be pragmatic. And because movies are pure art and subjective, the marketing of them is a little bit different, right? So again, you take something like the way Ryan Reynolds marketed his Deadpool movies. Massive amounts of creativity, but it was something with an IP like Deadpool that was a perfect match for. I'm not quite sure how you market Mickey 17 to be example. Like I agree in general with what Rob said, obviously, but I mean, it's not like you can't approach marketing of movies the way you approach making movies. They're 2 different things, and different things will have different results with them. All right, what's next?
Oh, we got one from Race 40X and says, did you see the deleted scene in Back to the Future Part 2 where the flux capacitor malfunctioned, sending Doc Brown a long time ago to a galaxy far, far away, ended up meeting primitive warriors. Those warriors would eventually become the Mandalorians, which is derived from the phrase man in DeLorean. I'll see myself out.
Oh, boy.
That was a very long-winded way to get to it.
Yeah.
But I'll give you that one. That one was clever.
I don't know.
Man in DeLorean.
I'll tell
hold
you.
the door, hold the door. Sure, why not? I'll give you that.
Okay.
I'll give you that one.
John gives you that one, but not me.
Not John. John's a tougher nut to crack.
Yeah. Mitchell, hey crew, just got back from a day trip to Vegas from Vancouver. Whoa,
Nice.
day trip. To go see Anima perform at the Sphere. It was insanely epic with the announcement of MSG thinking of making mini spheres in other cities Do you see a new film format emerging?
No.
It's really cool concept for concerts with enhanced visual production, but does it have a place in film? Or will it be like those IMAX screens that just show documentaries at museums? Curious.
Yep,
of
that's
your
it.
thoughts. In sporting events, I
It's
could
going to
see.
be far too small of a thing
Yeah.
for an entire camera systems and film production things to make just for that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be exactly like what you said. It's going to be like the true IMAX stuff that gets made. That's really just more for look at the wonders of the world and that sort of stuff. But no, I don't see it becoming a viable kind of go to watch a movie, like a regular movie experience. I don't see that happening. The Sphere is insane though.
Yeah.
The Sphere is absolutely insane. If you ever get a chance to go to Vegas and check out the Sphere, dude, it's jaw dropping. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Calvin Severo says, John, with season 2 of Andor coming soon, I think that this will be very strange if Bail Organa doesn't show up. He's like Mothma's main ally in the Senate. I believe it's one case that will be forcing if he's not with her at some point.
Disagree. Hard disagree. Yeah, he's an ally, but she's got a lot of allies. And he's also an ally that she doesn't get face to face with a lot. So, I mean, look, does it make sense if he's there? 100%. Does he have to be there? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, especially depending on what point along the line they are in the formation of this. So, he could be there, he could not be there. I think the option's open. I don't think they have to have him not there. I don't think they have to have him there. I really think it's really dealer's choice.
Remind me, because I'm a little like, I know that at the fall of the Republic, the Empire, and then Bail helps, was it Obi-Wan escape or was it Yoda escape?
Helped Yoda escape.
So
yeah.
he's on the run, right? He didn't go back to the Senate after Revenge of the Sith, right?
I think he did.
Oh, did he? Because they didn't know it was him. I mean, he killed all those stormtroopers and took
Yeah,
off.
because I mean, he would have been living on Alderaan if the Empire knew he was helping.
That's true.
They would have taken.
You're right.
They
He
would have
wasn't
gone there
on
and
the
taken
run.
a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. So
All
that
right,
was the end
what's
of that,
next?
but we have some member questions here. So we got King Daddy Goat. Hey crew, I'm not the only one. Or wait, I'm not the only East Coaster who's a wee bit tired today, but it was so worth it. The next few weeks should be easier, and I wanted to thank you for bringing back after shows. Really enjoyed watching this morning. Thanks for everything.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I'm going to. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing them or not. But it was kind of fun doing a post show again.
I guess
last
it was
night.
later for the East Coasters. This is a two-parter, so
Yeah, well, for the East Coasters, it was 9:00,
yeah.
which isn't so bad. It's
Yeah.
because remember, it used to be midnight
That's
for the East
true.
Coasters.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about staying up and watching us do the post show as well.
Yeah.
Because we did get started a little bit later than we initially tend to do. But yeah, I'm going to evaluate it and decide if it's something I still want to do. All right,
got
what's next?
Cultured Insight. Love Sean Baker's acceptance speech. He used the time to speak about the importance of the theater and the movie-going experience.
Well, he had 4 acceptance speeches.
Man.
I mean, that's a good night for Sean Baker.
Yeah.
He had 4 acceptance speeches to do in the night. So, and yes, I did love the fact, and I don't think it was a coincidence that he did it with Quentin Tarantino on stage with him.
Yeah.
To give that whole thing about, listen, I know it's very gatekeeperish of me. I know it's very snobbery of me, but and it's not fair. I'm admitting it's not fair. And I'm ashamed to say it. But I think I'm one of those snooty people that looks down my nose at you a little bit if you're not a movie theater goer. Like, you're not a real movie fan. If you're a movie fan, if you love the movies, you know the only real way to watch them is in a movie theater. I enjoy watching them at home too as a secondary thing, but there is no replacing the theatrical movie-going experience. And that's what Quentin Tarantino and Sean Baker and everybody else, all of Christopher Nolan, everybody's been trying to, I love watching a movie. I love going to the movies more. And I just agreed with every single syllable that came out of his mouth. All right, what's next?
Mr. Rob Fitz says, Matt Reeves previously talked about doing a Batman trilogy, but do you think part of the delay is them deciding it's not feasible to do at this pace and reworking the story to be a conclusion for Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Nope. Listen, Matt Reeves's rep around Hollywood is that he's slow. Pacing.
Yeah.
Not that he's slow, but that he moves slowly. That's his rep. And it is what it is. So no, I don't believe this is signifying any kind of a change of plans. By the way, James Gunn is never going to greenlight a third film until they see what they got in the second film anyway. Right? So no, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
We get this asked from time to time. Alan says, are there any TV shows that you choose not to skip the intro on because they're so good? I love the themes of The Office, Shrinking, and Ted Lasso.
The only one for me is Peacemaker. Well, and Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, because it kind of alludes to where you're going in the story.
Honestly, for me, it's just bringing me into the world.
Yeah.
Even like my all-time favorite show, like Battlestar Galactica or stuff like that, I don't watch opening theme. Or one of my all-time favorite shows, Parks and Rec. I do love the music. Do-do-do-do,
Yeah, it's
do-do-do,
catchy.
but I don't watch it. I don't care about it. Opening theme music is pointless to me. But I watch it every time for Peacemaker. And I do for any of the Game of Thrones shows because just hearing that bum 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 bum, it mentally brings me into that world. But I never do for anything else.
Yeah.
And I skip Severance every time, even though I love the show. All right, what's next?
Mean says, if the last 5 best lead actress performances were in 1 year, who would you vote for, and who do you think would win? So it would be Frances McDormand, Jessica Chastain, Michelle Yeoh, Emma Stone, or Mikey Madison. Boy,
Wow.
I might go Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh.
I mean, because that performance was so.
It was.
Or Nomadland.
I think I would have to go Frances McDormand in Nomadland.
Yeah.
Because that whole honestly, my top 2 in that list would probably be Frances McDormand and Mikey Madison.
Okay.
I mean, and that's not taking anything away from Michelle Yeoh, who deserved to win, or anything else, but Frances McDormand in Nomadland, it was a completely immersed performance. I think that was a performance that put her in the top 10 conversation of the greatest actresses of all time. So I'm going to go with Nomadland. But yeah, and Stone in Poor Things, how great was she in that? I mean, these are all Oscar winners. But I'll lean towards the Frances McDormand one. But man, that's a Sophie's choice for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
We got Dominic, who says, let me scroll up a little bit. I want to praise Kathy Kennedy for how she handled Lucasfilm through The Last Jedi. I think everything went pretty awesome until then, and then the combination of loss of Carrie Fisher, divisiveness of Last Jedi knocked things off track, and she wasn't able to recover fully.
No, I mean, I respect that that's how you feel. Kudos. It's not how I feel. It became very apparent very quickly that she was not able to get on the same page with her creators. I mean, one of the biggest things, and nobody talks about it today, but truly one of the biggest gaffes ever was the handling of the Solo movie.
Yeah.
Where she was so disconnected and so out of touch and so displaced from her filmmakers that she wasn't able to stay. She was never able to get on the same page with them to start with. Number one, you shouldn't have even hired you shouldn't have even announced that you hired Lord and Miller that we're going to do Solo until you were 100% sure that Lord and Miller and you were creatively on the same page. And then they were literally making the movie. By the way, I love Lord and Miller, but I don't let them off the hook on this either. They started making a movie that was different from the one they agreed to make. And that's on them. But you're the head of the studio. You need to understand that you guys were going creatively in completely different directions. And they got practically finished making the movie before you stepped in and said, we're taking you off the film. We got to bring in somebody else to do the movie that we agreed to make. Right from there, it became clear this was not the job for her. And there have been worse situations, but right there, that to me is a fireable offense.
Wasn't it the actor of Solo that complained that
No.
let it all out first?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, it was the other person who came out was the writer of the film.
Yeah, it
Who
was
also wrote Empire Strikes Back.
right, exactly. And he was like, man, this is kind of nonsense. What's going on?
You literally had the guy who wrote Empire Strikes Back.
And as soon as he came out, because of that fact, everyone was like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, but
here?
it's something that Kathleen Kennedy, as the head of the studio, should have been 100% on top of.
Oh, yeah.
And it got to the point it got to because of her inability. Hey, listen, I couldn't do the job. But it was 100% because of her inability to be able to do that job. And I've always said the two big strikes against Kathleen Kennedy running Lucasfilm has been, number one, her complete lack of a plan. And then number two, and equally as important, her inability the entire time that she has run Lucasfilm to be on the same creative page as her creators. And that's why you've seen the big gaffe and debacle that Marvel's had with Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's 1 in 20 years. She's had 9 of those.
It just keeps happening.
And it just keeps happening. And that doesn't even count the ones we haven't heard about. And so while I appreciate your optimistic appraisal of the situation, and your appraisal is no more and no less valid than mine, I just see it very differently. But that's just me.
All right, we got a couple more here. Ronnie Shama says, oh no, actually there's 3 here. Maverick says, hey, John and crew, do you think having Bruce Banner and Cap 4 would have helped the movie? It has Hulk's villains, Gamma Rays, and other characters connected to Hulk.
The story's the story, and bad writing's bad writing. Just dropping another character in there doesn't fix it.
Yeah.
You could have had that movie without Hulk and without a lot of other things if it was a solidly written movie with a good script and a good foil and all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't matter. Mm-hmm. So this notion of, oh, well, let's just take this another character and drop it in, fixing it, wouldn't have fixed it at all. It would have made it an even less of a
coherent
Sam Wilson movie. It's
right,
supposed to be a Sam Wilson movie.
Exactly.
And there's an argument to be made. This wasn't a Sam Wilson movie. This was a sequel to that Hulk film. You drop Bruce in there, then what's the point of Sam Wilson even being in the movie, to be honest with you? All right, what's next?
Ronnie Shama says, do you think Fisk will be mayor by the time we get Spider-Man 4?
He's already mayor.
Yeah, he is mayor. He's not on his way to
Do you
become
mean
mayor.
will he still
Or
be mayor?
still be mayor, probably.
If you're asking if he will still
Oh, you know
be
what?
mayor.
Will still be mayor. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Oh, okay. So, really a better way of asking that question is, do I think Fisk will still be mayor by the end of Born Again? That's really the better question. I don't know. I'm going to guess no, he's not. But again, just guessing, pure guess, not based on anything, just guessing.
Yeah.
My guess is he won't still be mayor by the end of season 1 of Born Again. All right, what's next?
And then we got Spiral Nexus, kind of a cool name. Hey crew, not a question, just want to say whether it's real or not. My headcanon of the art with Quill and Vision is Quill sharing the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Just watching Kevin Bacon movies. That's great.
By the way, can I just mention again how much I love the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special? It is my favorite Christmas special now of all time. It surpassed Rudolph. It surpassed Frosty. That Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special is my all-time favorite Christmas special now. And I trash talked it before it came out. I said, what's the point of this? I love the Guardians of the Galaxy, but what's the point of this thing? This is a dumb idea. And then I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, it's my favorite Christmas special of all time all of a sudden.
It was entertaining.
No small part to Kevin Bacon as well.
But you know what I want to see now is like a little short of like Wong, Madison, Star-Lord, and White Vision having a movie party, a movie hangout.
Having a watch night,
Yeah,
a movie night.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. A big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Both those of you who sent into our tip link, thank you so much. And those of you who are our channel members who sent in those free questions, thank you so much for sending in those questions, giving us fun things to talk about, but also supporting our channel while you did it. I want to thank the guys in the room with me, Ray Ora,
Hey, see you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys.
Of course, my thanks to Chris Carr and Robert Burnett for being here. Rob will be back again tomorrow. My name's John Campea, guys, and until next time, my friends, got him.